Welcome to the Box Out Marketing 37-point Infusionsoft audit. This is the exact same Infusionsoft audit form that we use to audit Infusionsoft accounts for prospects and clients that we work with. This is part of the secret sauce in how we create results for each and every one of our clients. And so we're giving this to you now for you to go through it and audit your own Infusionsoft account. So what I'm going to do is walk you through the process and explain what each of these check marks is on the list so that you understand how to audit your own Infusionsoft account and identify the areas that you can improve to leverage your Infusionsoft account even further. So the first section here is the dashboard section. Your dashboard in Infusionsoft is one of the most powerful parts of Infusionsoft to give you the data that you need to make decisions based on data instead of based on your feelings. So on our dashboard, you can set up a bunch of different widgets, various different reports, and we're going to go through the key ones that you should definitely have. First one is revenue. Now, if you put sales or orders on your dashboard, what you're going to have is a list that is not entirely accurate, or at least does not match up with what's in your bank account. And that's because orders and sales might include orders that are failed orders, where someone tries to purchase something and the payment doesn't go through. So for revenue, we typically use a payments report, and we'll put the payments report right here on the dashboard so we know exactly how much we've collected so far that month. So that's the first item on your dashboard. Next is your sales forecast. You want to be able to look into the future and see how much are we expecting in sales. If you're using opportunity records, then you have a sales opportunity forecast report here, so you can see how much we're expecting to close this month. Next, we have an auto bill forecast, which I call here the cash forecast, which is anything that's going to auto bill from a payment plan or subscription plans that is set to charge in the future this month. So we know here's how much we've collected, here's how much we're set to bill. If we close the sales that we have, here's how much that we're expected to close this month. So that gives us a good idea of what we're forecasting. We also have next is the accounts receivable. So if you go here to the bottom, you can see accounts receivable, and you'll see that's how much we are hoping to collect in past due payments. And so obviously you're not always going to be able to collect everything that's in the accounts receivable line item there, but at least you have an idea now of what's there and what's available. So these are all things that should absolutely be on your dashboard. Next, we have tasks and fulfillment items. So any tasks that are assigned to you or to other people that you need to track, maybe people that report to you, and fulfillment items, you want those on your dashboard as well. You want a new leads report. So you're going to want a widget that looks like this: new leads month to date, appointments set for the month. So basically you're getting a sense for your funnel. You know, how many leads are coming in, how many appointments were completed, how many did we actually close this month. So your marketing and sales funnel, you want to look like that. Next, you have broadcast lists. So you want to have quickly accessible widgets on your dashboard where you can go, hey, I want to broadcast my leads, or I want to send a broadcast to all of our customers, or I want to send a broadcast to all the people who bought product A. So if you have saved searches for each of those and you put them on your dashboard, then those can be used as quick broadcast lists. And then your sales pipeline. If you're using a sales pipeline, it'll look something like this, where you can see every stage in your sales process and how many leads you have in each one. You can quickly and easily access those lists and work those leads. So that's your dashboard. Those are the basics. You'll probably want to add other things, but at a very minimum, you should have those items on your dashboard. Next is the systems section. First thing, we have organized tag naming. In Infusionsoft, you can name your tags whatever you'd like. If you go into CRM settings and then go into the tag section here, jump over there here, you'll notice that you can create tags in whatever naming convention you want. Well, most people don't use a naming convention, so they end up being an absolute mess. But they really should look something like this, where they all have a category and they all have a very simple yet consistent naming convention so that you know exactly what every tag does and where it belongs. If you don't have a tag naming system, then go download ours. It's free. You can search Box Out Marketing Tag Naming System and go access that there. It will be hugely helpful to you. Okay? You also want a campaign naming system. So if you go to your campaign list in the campaign builder, you want to make sure your campaigns are organized. Now, this test account that we're in is not very well organized, but when we do it according to our conventions, every campaign has a stage. So stage 1 is lead generation, stage 2 is indoctrination, stage 3 is conversion, stage 4 is sales, stage 5 is fulfillment, Stage 6 is upselling, and stage 7 is referrals. And so every campaign, no matter what it's called, is going to have the stage labeled there, and so we know exactly what the function of that campaign is. So you want a good organized campaign naming system as well. You want to make sure your branding center is all set up correctly. So under admin, go to branding center. This is essentially the starting point for every single one of the items in your campaigns. Campaign emails, broadcast emails, web forms, landing pages, letters, etc. All of these things, you're wasting time every time you open up a campaign or every time you go to send a broadcast if you're having to recreate the template and design it and style things and all that kind of stuff, when you could do the work here and have it set for all of your things going forward. All right, next we have the billing automation configured. If you jump up here to e-commerce, go anywhere in your e-commerce section, and then under actions, you're going to go to billing automation. Billing automation allows you to trigger things when a credit card auto charge attempt is made and it fails or is successful, and then also when credit cards are going to expire or once they have expired. This is really helpful for following up with people, particularly if you charge them monthly for a membership or something like that, and you need to let them know, hey, your credit card's about to expire, and if it does, then you're going to have trouble because your credit card payment's going to fail, and then you're going to lose access, right? So you can automate that entire process here in the billing automation. Also, if you're using payment plans and billing fails on a future payment, you want to make sure that you're notified, the client's notified, that can be rectified immediately without it going a long period of time without them making payment. All right, no items still in legacy campaigns. If you go into marketing and go to the legacy section, you want to make sure you don't have any active campaigns here. You want to make sure that you're not using any legacy web forms and that you're not using any legacy follow-up sequences. If you are, it's not the end of the world. It's just that you're using old technology and you want to move everything to the campaign builder. It's much easier to manage. You can visually see exactly what's going on. There's no more guessing about where stuff is. It's much, much easier. So you want to move out of the old age into the new age with the campaign builder. Next, user permissions configured correctly. So over here in admin users, if you go to edit permissions, you want to make sure that permissions are set on each user in a very restrictive way. Not that you're trying to restrict your people, but you don't need them having access to things that they don't need to be using. This way, if you lock down permissions in a pretty restrictive way and only give people access to the things that they need, you can reduce the chance for errors when someone goes to an area that they're not supposed to be dealing with. Okay. Next is using round robins appropriately. So in your Infusionsoft campaigns, you can assign contacts to users in your business, to a sales rep, to a customer support rep, etc. But if you're doing that directly inside campaigns, you're missing out on a functionality that will help you in the long run. So if you go to CRM settings and you go to the round robins, you can set up round robins. So even if you only have one sales rep, you might want to set up a round robin for the sales team, and then in all of your campaigns, use that round robin to randomly assign all of the leads to that one person. Well, why would you do that instead of just put that person in the campaign? Well, the reason is because what if that person, let's say our sales rep's name is Joe, let's say Joe, for whatever reason, next month is no longer with the company. Then I have to go hunt through all of my campaigns that assign leads to Joe and switch them from Joe to Sally, who's our new sales rep. But if I've used a round robin and I've utilized that round robin within all those campaigns, and all I need to do is come here, edit the round robin in one place, and it will update all of my campaigns. Same thing for when you're growing the company. If you've got a new sales rep that you're adding to the team, instead of having to go edit every single campaign, I can just edit the one round robin here, and now that new sales rep is thrown into the rotation and will update all of my campaigns going forward. All right, campaigns for each stage of the customer lifecycle. Now I mentioned this earlier, but when we go to our campaigns list and we're looking at them by stage, we want to make sure that you've got every stage covered. You should have a campaign for lead generation, one for indoctrination, one for conversion, one for sales, one for fulfillment, one for upselling, and one for referrals. If you don't have at least one campaign in each of those categories, then you're missing out on the power of Infusionsoft. Next is reporting. Infusionsoft doesn't have great trending reports. It doesn't show charts that show your trends over time, but you can build campaigns for that and put them on your dashboard. So you should be able to see how many new leads do I have this week, last week, 2 weeks ago, this month, last month, 2 months ago, this year. last year and 2 years ago. All of that can easily be set up and on your dashboard so you have quick, easy access to that data. So you can make decisions based on the trends happening with your new leads, with sales, with referrals, whatever measure you want to track in your business. Okay, the next section is workflow. So first of all, you want to be using quick add forms. So if you go to Infusionsoft and you check this little plus right here, then that is where you can quickly add a contact to your Infusionsoft account. Problem with the default add contact form is it only adds a contact. It doesn't start them in any campaign. And if you're adding people to your account and you're not starting them in campaigns, then again, you're defeating the purpose of having an Infusionsoft account. So what you can do is add your internal forms to the quick add. And so let's just say I want to enter a referral, then I'm going to use the enter referrals form. I've got all the necessary fields, I hit save, and that also is a campaign goal. So as soon as I hit save, it's going to start that person on the appropriate campaign. Let's say I'm a sales rep and I'm dealing with my leads and I'm moving them through the sales pipeline. Well, I'm going to just use the sales pipeline form. I want to schedule them for an appointment. I can do that all right here super easily. So you want to use your internal forms in the quick add form right here at the top. It will save you a ton of time. Next, organized internal forms instead of notes. So you saw in that sales pipeline form that it's not just moving them from stage to stage, but there's things like an appointment date, check the box when the appointment is complete, set myself a follow-up task, etc. So what you want to do is create internal forms for each department, one internal form for each department, and include all the options in that internal form. So your sales reps and your support reps, instead of having to memorize the names and search for the names in a long list of note templates or internal forms, they know, hey, I'm a sales rep, I'm just going to use the sales internal form. Or I'm a support rep, I'm going to use the support internal form. And all of the options that they might have will be right there within that one internal form. All right, next, My Nav. If you go to your main navigation, you may know that this section over here is called My Nav, and it is completely customizable. So if I hit edit here, I can move over any of the main menu items that I want quick access to right here. So let's say I'm importing leads all the time. Well, I might want to just move import data right over there into My Nav. Now it's available and quickly accessible right from My Nav very, very easily. Okay, next is using favorites links. If you go up here to the star in the main menu here, you have favorites and you can edit those favorites. So anytime you create a saved search or saved report, you can quickly add it to my favorites. And then of course you can edit these as well. You can have links out to your website, to some other third-party software you're using, anything you'd like you can add links to. So this little favorites guy becomes very, very helpful. You just open up the plus there and you've got all your links that you can quickly access for important saved searches and important links. All right, next, not applying and removing tags manually. You want to make sure that you and your employees are not applying and removing tags manually. Why wouldn't we want to do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. The main reason is Infusionsoft does not keep a history of when those things happen and who did it. And so if you are trying to figure out what happened with a client, why didn't they get this particular email, or why did they end up in this campaign, and things are being added and removed manually, you'll have no history of it. You'll not be able to go in and hunt down who did this, why is it happening, how do we correct it. So you want to make sure that things are being triggered from internal forms, which does record who did it and when, and then you know why, and you can fix it if things are not happening appropriately. All right, the main nav you can also customize. So we talked about the My Nav section, but over here we can also add some things to these drop downs in our main navigation. Okay, so you can go into the admin settings and change that navigation and add your favorite saved searches and things like that to the main navigation to make navigation much faster for you. All right, lastly in workflow is using My Day if applicable. So if you're a sales rep or a support rep and you're not using My Day, you may want to look into this. So under here we're going to go to My Day, and all of your appointments, your tasks, and your opportunities will show up in this left-hand menu. You have quick access to your calendar and all your tasks here, but as soon as I work on a task or an opportunity, if I click on it, it will load over here in interactive view. So I can do anything that I want to do with this particular record right from this screen. I can add notes, I can fill out internal forms, I can send an email, I can create an order, I can tag the person, I can do whatever I want to do right from this screen, and it's super, super easy. So if you're in and out of contact records all day long and you're working through tasks and opportunities, this is a great way to do it. Saves you a ton of time. All right, next is the marketing section. First, you want to be making sure that you are using the lead source field in Infusionsoft. The lead source field tells us where leads are coming from. Are they coming from a Facebook ad? Are they coming from a Google ad? Are they coming from a retargeting campaign? You want to make sure that you know which campaigns and which money you're spending is ROI positive. The only way you know that is through your lead source tracking. We have a ton of training on this, so go into our membership site, look for it there, look for the ROI tracker tool, which is free to you, and you'll find training there on lead source tracking. In your campaigns, you always want to plan for what if they don't. Now, by default, entrepreneurs, we're optimistic, we create funnels for what we want people to do. Hey, I want someone to come to this landing page, I want them to fill out the form to request my lead magnet, and then I want them to request this $7 tripwire, and then I want them to buy this core offer. And so that's the way we build the campaign. But what if they don't? What if they request a lead magnet and they don't buy the tripwire? Or what if they do buy the tripwire and they don't buy the core offer? You need to plan for that. So you want to go through your campaigns and make sure that all of your campaigns have a default for what if they don't, and a plan for that, and you have follow-up in all of those situations. All right, next, lead magnet delivery ensured. So if you have a form offering a free report, and someone fills out that form and they go into a sequence where you deliver that free report, and then inside that sequence you have various different follow-up emails, you run the risk of having a very, very common Infusionsoft problem. And that is, person requests the free report. They don't read it right now because they're busy. They come back a few days later and they go looking in their email for that report and they can't find it. They probably deleted it, they lost it, whatever they did. So they come back to your website, they fill out the form again, and lo and behold, they do not get the email again. Why don't they get it again? It's not because of an email deliverability problem, and it's not because Infusionsoft is broken, and it's not because your website is broken, which is what they think. It's because they're already in that sequence and they can't enter the sequence twice. And so you need to create a way in all of your lead magnet campaigns for the lead magnet to be delivered regardless of whether or not the person is in the campaign or not. Okay, next, all lead and customer campaigns flow to long-term nurture. So you need to make sure that if people don't do what you want them to do, that they're going to eventually flow into some type of long-term nurture campaign. You never know when someone might be ready. They might not be ready to buy right now, but in a month, in 6 months, in a year, for whatever reason, they're now ready. And so if you're maintaining contact through a long-term nurture campaign, you're much more likely to get that business. All right, attribution tracking. Attribution tracking is tracking what caused the actual sale or the conversion. To what can we attribute the conversion? And so if you have, let's say, a handful of different conversion campaigns to try and get people to request a consult. You might have a webinar that drives people to a consult. You might have a video series. You might have a mini course. You might have an email series, all these different things. Well, you want to know what's working better. Are people converting from the webinar? Are they converting from the email course? Whatever it might be. So this is tracking attribution. You want to make sure you're tracking attribution correctly so that you can tell what's actually causing conversion in your business. All right, an indoctrination campaign. When people opt in, they're new leads on your list. They need to get to know, like, and trust you before they're going to buy. So you need an indoctrination campaign. If you don't have one, you need to go create one. All right, easy to follow campaign flow. Now, I mentioned earlier that in our campaign naming convention, we name them by stage. See, I know when we go into any one of our accounts or our clients' accounts, we can see that a stage 1 campaign flows into stage 2, and stage 2 flows into stage 3, and stage 3 flows into stage 4, and so on and so forth. And so we know the exact flow just by looking at the names of the campaigns. And we know what's included in what campaign and what's not included in that campaign because they're all organized by stage. Okay, so you want that easy to follow campaign flow so that you know exactly what's going on with all your campaigns. All right, next is email opt-out actions configured. So if you go into marketing and go to your settings, scroll down on the left-hand side, go to email defaults. Down here towards the bottom, there's this line item, when someone opts out of email marketing, all email marketing. Click that actions button and you can apply a tag when someone opts out of email marketing. That will also allow you to utilize that tag as a trigger, as a goal, to achieve a goal in the campaigns. And then in your campaign, you can set follow-up tasks to contact that person. So you could determine, hey, is this person a client? If they are, let's call them and find out why they opted out. If they're a lead, maybe you want to do something different. Send them a postcard, whatever it might be, to follow up appropriately. So you definitely want to make sure you've got that email opt-out automation in place there. All right, next, tags only have one function. This goes back to our tag naming convention. It gets really confusing in Infusionsoft and hard to manage if you're using the same tag to achieve a goal and to report on people who maybe bought something, and then also you're using that tag for access in, say, a membership site. And let's say for some reason down the road you want to revoke access. Maybe they stopped paying, so you remove that tag. Well, that just messed up your reporting as well. And so you can't have tags with more than one function. Make sure they only have one function and then everything stays super clear. All right, no connector lines flowing right to left. So if you go into your campaigns, we'll go into this one here. All of the arrows connecting goals to sequences should flow from left to right. If they start flowing from right to left, as you can see going on here, you can't quite tell what's going on. So is this sequence flowing into this sequence? Does this goal stop this sequence? Or does this goal start this sequence? We just don't know. And so if all of your arrows are flowing from left to right, it's very, very easy to follow. That's the way the campaign builder was designed to be used. And so if you ever have arrows that are flowing from right to left, make sure you correct that. Now in this case, I know what I did, so I can actually just move this goal over here, and now you'll see that this goal is not starting this sequence because the arrow flows the other way, right? And so I can move it and find out what's going on, and then I can look at this line and see, okay, this line must have been the one that was flowing from this sequence to this sequence. And so if I want it to actually flow that way, all I need to do is move these things over to the right. Okay, and now I know this one flows into this one flows into this one, and the goal stops them all, right? And so if all arrows are flowing left to right, then it's very, very easy to follow. Okay, next, negative rules configured correctly. Now back in our decision diamond here, if you ever need to make sure that someone goes into a sequence when they don't have a set of certain tags, you'll use something like this. If the context tags doesn't contain this, but then what if you need to do multiple tags? If you say or, like we do in normal English, we say, hey, if they don't have this tag or this one, then put them in the sequence, it'll actually be wrong. You want to make sure you do and. Okay, so if the context tags doesn't have this tag and the context tags doesn't contain this other tag, this one, well, it's the same one. Did that on accident there, so we'll get a different one. So well, I'm using two different tags there, but I have to use the and statement instead of the or. If you use or, then if they have one of them, then the rule will be true and they'll go into the sequence, okay? So make sure that negative rules are configured correctly. And lastly is email status automation. So if we go back out and we go into the marketing settings area, there's this fairly new area called email status automation. And here we can trigger things when an email bounces. So if it soft bounces or if it hard bounces, we can trigger whatever we would like. Apply a tag, start a campaign. You might want to call them or set a task for someone to do something, send them a postcard, whatever it may be. But you can trigger automation based on their email status changing. So those are the 37 points. What you want to do is review your Infusionsoft account, make a check mark on each of the boxes where you actually are doing it well, leave them empty if you're not doing it well, and then count up all of the check boxes and put them here. If you're in the 30s, you're doing pretty good. You can pat yourself on the back and be proud of what you're doing. If you're less than that, I would encourage you to give us a call or go to boxupmarketing.com/consult and let's have a free consultation with you. We'll review your 37-point audit with you, and we can put together a plan to help you maximize your use of Infusionsoft, and more importantly, a plan to help you grow your business. So thanks a lot. Enjoy the 37-point audit, and we look forward to working with you.